So the Cheryl Miller situation is mental. It is absolutely, absolutely mental. From all sides, to be honest. It is, like, it's crazy. It is just a crazy situation. And it has led to, I'm not joking you, the old guard in the WNBA. And not even WNBA media, just the old WNBA fans. The people that had the big Twitter accounts. The people that have the big Twitter accounts interacting with players. Trying to essentially cancel Cheryl Miller for the crime of, you guessed it, defending Caitlin Clark. And you're wondering, what? There's no way. No. That's it. That is it. She defended Caitlin Clark. She basically said she felt bad for Caitlin Clark because of everything that the media said about her, and she was happy that none of it was true. So she basically said, oh, I met with Caitlin Clark, and I really like her. She then went and defended all of the young players, basically saying that she's happy that she grew up in the era that she was in. So that she didn't have to deal with any of the social media stuff that these young players have to deal with, and that these players are coming in as brands, not just basketball players, they're coming in as brands. And then also basically said to what I'm assuming, like, you're pointing at she didn't specifically say it, but definitely pointing at the Cheryl Swoops of the world, and basically saying, like, what are you dummies doing? The money's there, go get it. Not a quote, but that's basically what she was saying. Is like, the money's there, go get it. And that's just a fact when it comes to WNBA media. Is like, I don't think like the old WNBA media that are like not getting jobs. As far as I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard the Cheryl Swoops podcast with WNBA is gonzo. Like, she'll still be on Gilbert Arenas' podcast because she'll say wild things and she's just there to go viral for some Caitlin Clark nonsense. And like, there were so many of these people that had ins with WNBA teams, ins with all these teams, and they had opportunities. They had the same 24 hours in a day. They had the same, internet that we all did. And obviously, look, when it comes to the WNBA, like, the actual people that get the most views and the most clicks are the AI channels that start saying that Angel Reese was caught for steroids and Caitlin Clark has gone to Europe, and those people are the ones actually getting the most views. And then obviously there's a lot of the channels that are like or a lot of creators on all sides, and it's not just jumping on the Clark bandwagon. There's people that jumped on the Reese bandwagon, and there's people on all sides that do everything they can to avoid basketball, and that's probably the next best way to get views in this scene. And you got to go, and the problem is that if you're going solely on that route, it's got to either go exclusive Caitlin love or exclusive Caitlin hate, because there's two extremes and you want to get one of the extremes to watch you, and there's obviously a lot of people on the extremes. And obviously for the people in the WNBA media, like, if someone goes full on, like the trendy hoop stars goes full on anti-Caitlin, it becomes that kind of becomes your personality. And Trendy Hoop Stars has even said something about what Cheryl Miller said and how bad it was, and got so much hate from everyone all around that they had to take down the post and posted their first positive post about Caitlin Clark in a year. In a year since she got drafted, and that account became a Caitlin Clark hate page. And then, I mean, look, you can have basketball conversations while being obviously having biases in some end. Like, I really enjoy watching Caitlin Clark play basketball. It is extremely fun. I enjoy watching Caitlin Clark play basketball, but at least I like to think, in my end, you'll learn, hopefully learn something about basketball. Considering most of you guys are just here for the drama videos, I appreciate everyone that's here for whatever reason, to be honest. But yeah, I have seen so many people, though, trying to cancel Cheryl Miller because of what Cheryl Miller said. Because basically, Cheryl Miller, it's clear that Cheryl Miller, because of the pressure that she faced when she was playing in college, she sees a bit of herself in Caitlin Clark. Like, Cheryl Miller is probably, pre-WNBA, she was the greatest women's basketball player ever. And then you would probably say, you probably give it to Taurasi. Like, Taurasi is the one player, I would say that, like, she was the one player prior to Caitlin Clark that actually did transcend. And maybe Sabrina Ionescu just slightly before, but like in that early era, Cheryl Swoops, everyone who knew ball knew who Cheryl Swoops was. But like, let's be real, as great as Cynthia Cooper wasn't as big a name. As great as Candace Parker wasn't. More people know her from the TV stuff. Elena Delodon, not as popular. Lauren Jackson, not as popular. Taurasi was like... Because Taurasi had the... You can't forget a player having the Kobe hype, which is a big reason why Sabrina Ionescu was as hyped as she was. Anyone who got the Kobe stamp of approval, which Diana Taurasi did, he called her a white mamba. They became a lot more famous, and Taurasi, in fairness, was. But Cheryl Miller is probably the greatest pre-WNBA player. And it's so funny with all these, like, a lot of these old WNBA fans. And by the way, like, look, this is... It's hard... It's annoying to put everyone into one group. It is. And I will call these the old fans. I'll call them the anti-Clarks. Because these are old fans that pretend to be fans. Like, these are old fans that are now pretend Angel Reese fans just to hate Caitlin Clark. And then as soon as, they're going to be Paige Becker's fans soon. Then they're going to be Juju Watkins fans soon. And, like, the good thing is, ironically, about the growth of the game is the more real fans come in, real, like, basketball fans come in. That's the biggest thing with the new crop of WNBA fans. It's a lot of basketball fans. So there's actual basketball conversations being had about women's basketball. By looks of it on social media, for the first time ever, there's basketball conversations had. But it's one of those things that, like, these people are trying to cancel Cheryl Miller for literally, I'm not joking, like they're literally, all she did was defend Caitlin Clark, and they have an issue with that. So it is respect the old players, defend the old players, unless they are pro Caitlin Clark, unless they want to defend Caitlin, and then they want everyone to be Cheryl Swoops. They want everyone to be Cheryl Swoops, and I'm sorry, like, these are the same people that thought it was try to make it a national disaster when Iowa fans wore t-shirts saying "Don't be a Cheryl" after Cheryl Swoops made up a bunch of lies about Caitlin Clark, just as a bit of a joke. They try to make that every single thing. Heck, like, I get every time, like, I've been called every name under the sun by these people. I've been accused of being everything, and obviously they called they're continuing to call her, these people, these actual, like, horrible people, the last four letters of the animal of a raccoon. It's embarrassing. Like, are these people not embarrassed? Like, genuinely, and I mean that. Are these people not embarrassed? You've got one of the greats of the game who is doing nothing but growing the game. Like, she is doing nothing but growing the game. Like, if you heard her in that interview, all she did was talk up Caitlin. She talked up Juju. She talked up all the young players. All Cheryl Miller has done publicly is talk up the players. She's there, like, and she joked about I think she made, like, Angel Reese said she made a joke, like, Angel Reese did something in the All-Star game, and she joked and just goes, "Oh, I'm starting to like you now." Like, just as a throwaway joke. Like, how many times have coaches and people said that to you as, like, almost like a term of endearment, like, and then they're trying to use that as a way of saying that she's trying to just appease people of a different race, and it's nonsense. It's just nonsense. This is one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and obviously, like, in a way that, like, if you're gonna make the argument that Serena Williams is one of the greatest tennis players of all time, she's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Like, if you ask Reggie Miller who was better, him or Cheryl, and Reggie Miller's top 100 player of all time, he'll say Cheryl Miller was better. But yeah, like, she's one of the 5 greatest female basketball players of all time. Because if you're looking who the top 5 are, it's her. You probably go her, Lauren Jackson, Taurasi, Maya Moore, and probably one of those 4 in a row Houston Comets players. Or do you put, like, or has Aja or Stewie gone into the top 5? I don't know. Or no, sorry, Tamika Catchings. Jesus, that would be probably the top 5, as of right now, and she'd be in that of all time. Obviously, with Stewie, Aja, and Caitlin, and you just never know what's going to happen with the others. Still with a chance to make that up. But it's It's just a horrible situation. It's just a horrible, horrible situation. You've got one of the greats of all time doing everything they can to grow the game, but these old fans aren't really basketball fans. And it just proves to me that it was never about growing the game. It was never so many people. And by the way, obviously, and I cannot stress this enough, it is only some of them. And it's really hard to word this in a way because it is a non-insignificant number of people, because these anti-Cheryl Miller tweets are getting thousands of likes. So it's a non-insignificant amount of people. But the problem is that these tweets are all going semi-viral, calling her every name under the sun. And again, Cheryl Miller talking about how she's not on social media is great, because imagine having to see all of this when all you did was go on a podcast and do everything you could to promote the WNBA and promote women's basketball, and you're being called every name under the sun because if you if you are not a Caitlyn hater, it does not matter how positive you are towards everyone. If you do not hate Caitlyn Clark, if you are of a certain race, you are automatically racist, and if you're of a certain race, you're automatically the last four letters of the animal raccoon. And I could only imagine what slur they would throw if there was throw at an Asian at the people in the Philippines celebrating Sabrina Ionescu if they did that to Caitlyn Clark. I could only imagine what Asian slur they'd throw at them. But yeah, it's a kind of sad thing that we've seen one of the most positive pieces of WNBA media, one of the greatest players of all time, going onto a podcast and doing nothing but talk up the league, and they still can't take that as a positive, because in their minds you cannot be positive towards the WNBA without hating Caitlyn Clark. And if you like Caitlyn Clark, you hate the WNBA. There's no way for these people to like both. And a big problem is when it comes to a lot of WNBA media, or not even the WNBA media, and I think it's one of those issues where it's like, I think I genuinely think that it's a weird one, because in the same way that I might be, because of the type of content I make, the likes of myself and Robin Lundberg, and there's others, like I literally do, the only channels that I watch are Aquita and Hunter Cruz. I have no idea who the others are, but I have seen the occasional wild video from people that we'd probably be lumped in towards. Just like the old WNBA media, even some of them that are positive and trying to grow the game are lumped in with the anti-Clarkson world. So it is an annoying thing from that perspective, where, like, if you're somewhere in the middle, if you just like basketball, and like, ironically enough, when people are like, oh, if you're not an extreme in either way, there's one like common ground between people in the middle. They like basketball. If you actually like basketball, you're not going to be extreme on any side, because, you talk ball. But yeah, and that's the thing with Cheryl Miller, is she's just seems to love the sport of basketball and is just nothing but positivity. And they still want to call her, if you would consider that word a slur, because she just doesn't want to hate on a certain player. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. But anyway, see you guys.